Hi friends, hope you're doing well. Today I'm going to be building a marble bookstore. I kind of just wanted an excuse to use the column block because I thought it looked cool. Also, don't tell anyone I told you this, but I might just finish the second floor of the bar as well. So without further delay, let's get into it. Hey, we're back. It's a little commentary post after the fact. Um, yeah, so today I am working on a bookstore. And contrary to last time, I actually did measure the dimensions, so we'll call that an improvement over last time. I basically had this image in my head that I wanted kind of a smaller room on the bottom floor with external pillars that would hold up the second floor. And so that's what I'm kind of doing here is I'm marking out where the smaller part of the build is going to be, like the first floor, the interior of it, right? And I just went with 8 by 8, 8 very easily divisible number. That's why you see it so often in Minecraft, you know, why all stacks are 64, right? Is because they're divisible by 8, but yeah, then we're getting into math, and I don't like math very much. So, um, yeah, so here I am kind of setting up the columns that I wanted to do. Kind of every 2 blocks, I'm putting up another column. And yeah, I just thought that block was really cool. You know, quartz block. Um, Bridge loves quartz. Who would have guessed, right? um, but yeah, so I initially set the columns to be 4 blocks high, though later on I'll go back and change that to be 3 blocks high, because I think it just ended up being a little too tall for what I wanted to do. Um, yeah, and then obviously we went for deep slate for the floor on the exterior, which I thought looks pretty nice. I think I just want to kind of incorporate deep slate a little bit more into my builds. I think it is a really nice block that they've added. Um, but yeah, so if you happen to see any buildings during this video that look particularly interesting to you, um, I have a playlist of all the different builds that I've done so far, so if there's a particular one you would like to see me do, um, there's a playlist for me. So I'll hopefully remember to put that in the description. If I don't, someone can remind me, you know. If not, you know, I'll try to also put like a annotation up there in the corner if I learn how to do that. So we'll see. Um, but yeah, so here I was basically just going back and, um, you know, redoing the, I guess the floor or the ceiling for the first floor, however you want to picture it, and moving it down a block. Um, I put these, you know, stairs kind of facing this direction, to give it a little bit of depth. Um, and so here, yeah, we put in the floor. I go with spruce planks, no surprise. I think for the overarching town, right? Or I should say for the overarching design of the town or city, whatever this ends up being, I think we're often going to see like spruce and quartz and brick, you know, because I'm kind of picturing this as like a bit of a sleepy mountain village that, you know, maybe people will come on vacation to or something. And yeah, that's just the color palette I went with. So here on this back wall, I actually had a suggestion from one of my viewers at the time to do something a little bit more interesting with it. So I think for this build particularly, it was really cool because I did have a lot of suggestions that I ran with. And it kind of gave this really cool dynamic of having ideas that weren't necessarily my own, but also incorporating them into the build to kind of make it like a group project almost. And during the previous video as well, I had a few suggestions for build ideas as well, which I thought were really cool. I believe I had one for like a parliament style building by someone, and then another person suggested like a school, which I think are both like great ideas. And you know, I'd love to still kind of have that sort of back and forth with you guys as far as what you would like to see me do in the future. And if you happen to be able to catch a stream, maybe you can also directly influence what I do in the build itself. So here I kind of experimented with some planters. Initially I wanted to do it like every other opening, but then I was like, we'll just do all walls, so I wasn't like a huge fan of it. And eventually I'll even go back and change the planters for the bigger decorative pots. So I finally figured out how to do that little technique where you put one of the bigger decorative flower pots and then put a smaller flower pot on top of it, and then you can put like a flower or something on top of that. Yeah, like right there. And so I thought that was a cool idea. It is a really neat block. And I used it like a couple more times for this build. So here I'm doing the roof a little bit. Initially I wanted to do more of a peaked roof, right? Where it comes to a peak. But I thought it would just end up being too tall for the skyline, I guess. I think there are definitely parts of this town that will have taller buildings, but at least for this area, I'm thinking it's gonna be more of your like 2-story to 3-story, like low-lying commercial buildings. So yeah, here was an idea suggested by one of my viewers with the composter and the leaves on top of them, which I really like, and I think I'm going to use a lot more moving forward, because it is very simple and it looks nice, right? Yeah, so then I moved on to doing the windows for the second floor, and initially I was going to do this like giant you know, floor ceiling window. Experimented a little bit with the multicolored ideas, kind of like what I did with the bar. Didn't like it, so I changed it. Went back to I believe they're black glass panes, if I'm not mistaken. Either that or the really dark gray. And so I wasn't like a huge fan of the way it looked from the front. It's just kind of like a giant window with, you know, no deviation. I think, you know, once we finish it, you'd probably agree that it looks better as I finished. And here I was kind of experimenting with that peaked roof a little bit, because I had seen some ideas online as far as how to do roofs, because again, not my strong suit, not that great at it. That's why I kind of always default to these very flat, low-lying roofs. So yeah, here I am breaking down that window, and moving it back a couple of blocks, making like a little patio basically, where the idea is that, you know, you could take a book that you had an idea that you wanted to purchase or something, and you could come out onto the patio and read it, um, and then, like, you know, make your determination. Oftentimes when you go to bookstores, they'll have reading areas, obviously, and yeah, that was the general idea. So another idea I had, or I saw, was like, I guess they're more like, they're almost stools with a back, I guess. They're very flat. And I was pretty much just trying to decide on what kind of chair I wanted to use, like what idea for the chair I wanted to use on the exterior. And the one I ended up going with, shocker, was suggested by my viewers. So I thought this was a really cool idea, and I hadn't done it before, so I was like, you know what, why not? It's basically, you take a stair, put a door on its back, and then the trap doors on the sides. So here I am putting a couple more of those decorative pots down. Those are just temporary lanterns, just so that we're both able to see what's going on, right? Because it can get a little dark at night, as it does. So then we move into the interior of the second floor here, and I pretty much finish up the roof here, if I'm not mistaken. No, okay, so we move to the remaining windows, and I kind of finish those off, add a door, extend the external staircase up to this, so it kind of splits like a Y, right? So you go down the alleyway, and then, you know, either go to the top floor of the bookstore, or you know, if you happen to live on top of the bar, then you go there as well. And then I think I may even continue that, you know, upward, so that there's a little more life with that as well. I wanted to do another skylight. I hadn't really done one since my first build with the manor, so I thought it would be kind of cool to have a bookstore with a skylight, so I did that. And then we moved to probably the most important part of the entire build, which is the bookshelves. You know, thankfully Minecraft has a block to showcase books, and that's what I used. I I ended up just going with 2 stacks of bookshelves. You know, oftentimes when I go into bookstores, you'll have these giant bookshelves on the perimeter of the room, right? But here, obviously, I had the windows, and I didn't want to kind of compromise that, so I put the bookshelves more toward the center and left a little area for, you know, so that you're able to walk around. I also labeled all of them as a little bit of flair, right? Your different genres, non-fiction, fiction, classics, science fiction. I believe I even had a sign for philosophy. And then children's books here in the center. I ended up changing that. So we had a little bit of a fun thing going on where I had a couple of my viewers, they got to basically name a book that they wanted in the bookstore. I put them on a couple of lecterns, so I think you'll see one of them. But yeah, and then I put this little lip here, just add a little bit more to the interior. But yeah, so there's basically this little spot when I was adding carpet because of the sign. You know, you get that just really weird spot where you can't put the carpet. So I was like, okay, I want to change that. So that's where I would end up putting the book for one of my viewers, and I would also eventually put another lectern on the opposite side of that row as well. So we come out here and I light this up a little bit, just make it a little nicer. I think those lanterns particularly ended up looking really nice. So yeah, and then put a couple more on the first floor to help light it up. I think the blank banners, I didn't really mention that, but the blank banners just across the front really adds a lot. Very cool block, you know, for design. So then eventually we get to the bottom floor, which is going to be very simple. It's really just a place to come and purchase, right? So I put a sign up here. I believe it just says pay here, and then I would eventually put another sign on the lectern that says checkout. And so this is obviously where you would just want to pay for the book. Or books, you know? You happen to be buying more than one, right? Did the same thing with the trapdoors I've done many times. Put another flower in the flower pot. Nothing crazy. I think, you know, it's a pretty cramped little space, so there isn't a whole lot that I could have done with it, but I think it ended up looking pretty nice for the purpose. And here I'm basically just kind of finishing up the exterior, make it look nice. Some more deep slate, and putting another lantern there just to light it up a little bit. And I'd tweak it a little bit more after the fact, but that's pretty much it for the bookstore. I think it turned out really nice. I think I add a couple more banners to the front, but that aside, I don't do a whole lot more as far as editing that building is concerned. And so here, as I kind of alluded to at the beginning, I moved on to furnishing the upper floor of the bar as I had ran out of time beforehand. So basically just put like a big double bed in the corner and a kitchenette next to it. Here I'm kind of trying to figure out what I wanted to use for a dishwasher. And I think it ended up looking pretty nice. I like the birch trapdoor to kind of signify that. I think the little handle at the top really breathes life into that. So here, another viewer suggestion. Who would have guessed? Suggested I do this thing with ellipses to kind of signify the different burners on the stove. Obviously, there's only one burner, I get it, but you know, it looks kind of nice, right? It's just a little bit something, right? So I'd eventually go back and change that as well to, you'll see here in a minute. We ended up going with zeros instead, which I think looked a lot nicer. We lit it up as well. So it looks like the knobs, you know? I think, yeah, here I add a little bit of carpet, you know? And then I moved to the ceiling, which I think is, you know, a nice touch. Most people will probably never look at the ceiling at all, but why not make it look nice, you know? You have the opportunity. And so I think it looked a lot better than what it did. Then we move on to adding a little nightstand. I kind of experimented here a little bit with end rods, and then I had this idea where I kind of wanted it horizontally like that. And I think that ended up looking really cool, so I kept that idea. And more flowers. Never used the torch flower for anything. It's kind of a shame it doesn't light up like a torch, so I think that's kind of a swing and a miss by Mojang, but hey, you know, can't hit on everything, I suppose. Add a couple more torch flowers to the exterior there. And then we move on to the second room, which is going to be in a lot of ways an emulation of the other room, just with a bit of a different colored bed. And a couple other things that I added to give it, you know, a little bit more life, right? Just to make it look a little different. Obviously the two rooms are different, believe it or not. Their dimensions are a little different. So I did a couple things differently. If I could use different any more times in a single phrase, I would. So a lot of this is just going to be me running back and forth, getting the blocks that I used from the other room and then placing it here. Basically adding another one of those chairs. I guess it's more of a couch, but you get the idea. I decided I wanted to put a TV in here. So that's what we're gonna do. It kind of, you know, is like the divide between, I guess, the living space and the bedroom. And I think it looked alright. You know, it's a little snug. It's a little cozy. But I think it looked alright in the end. So I ended up actually making this room for my viewer that had helped me out a lot during. So I was like, hey, what color bed do you want? He was like, blue. I was like, okay, what do you want in the flower pots? And he was like, let's go with cactus. So, but yeah, so that pretty much finishes the build. You know, I think we got a lot done during the stream, and I had a lot of fun. If you have any suggestions for the future, you know, be sure to leave them in the comments section. Oh, actually, no, hang on. My bad. I was a bit premature in my outro, but basically here, I just worked on the pathways a little bit. Because it was just a little boring, you know? Like, cobblestone with brick. So I thought it might look a little bit more interesting to do stone brick stairs instead, and having them face outward like that. And then eventually I'd put for the larger walkways, so the 3-block wide, like what I'm doing here, I put a chiseled stone brick line down the center of it. But yeah, okay. So for real this time, this is the end of the build. Yeah, I had a great time doing this. If ever you'd like to catch me live as I'm building, or you ever have any suggestions, be sure to leave them in the comments below. I stream usually at 6 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Sundays. Though sometimes that can change, so just good to check the community tab if ever you want to know. But yeah, that's all I got for you today, guys. So thanks so much as always, and until next time, take it easy. Peace, everybody.